Sure. Thanks so much, Raj. My name's Kyle Odefey. I'm a video editor at Synthesia, which is the world's leading AI video communications platform. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
We love a
Yeah,
UK startup.
it's fantastic. Yeah, I've been at Synthesia for 2.5 years now. I started in March of 2023. I am a bit of a content storyteller, so I kind of work in the marketing space where I do, social media content and also various, edits across social and traditional video as well. But my background is film production, and so I've been working kind of both in the film industry as well as the marketing industries for the last 8 years or so. But yeah, it's been a great ride so far, and yeah, really enjoy what I'm doing.
I have so many questions. Like when we think about video today, it's probably one of the most impactful formats that we've had in the last decade. We've transitioned over from like everyone wanting to use Twitter in terms of copy, everyone's going to Instagram and like posting photos of themselves, and we're in this video era. And Gen AI kind of
Yes.
supercharges that for all of us. Walk me through your thesis around video content at Synthesia, or like how you think about it yourself. Is it that we just create content and video for the sake of it, or is it that we have to tell a story in everything that we're doing today to really engage an audience?
Yeah, great question. I believe that storytelling is by far the greatest medium of social content that you can produce, right? I think that there is an element of, video production being such a critical part of marketing in the business world, especially in the business context, because at the end of the day, storytelling is the greatest gift of anything really, because you're able to connect with an audience on so many different levels, and connect with different people in different ways. I think ultimately, in the age of AI, there is so many different ways that you can leverage it, but also create in a different way. And when it comes down to it, AI overall is really an amazing tool, but at the end of the day, traditional storytelling still is very key. And I say this with a lot of confidence because with AI tools, there's really only so much that you can do to create, media. You can maybe generate an image with VO3, or create a piece of soundbite for something, but ultimately you are only building kind of the puzzle pieces to a larger story. You need to have the creative vision to actually lock on to a larger narrative overall. You need to have the ideation to actually create something, and this is something that AI, I think, doesn't have quite yet. You can only have the puzzle pieces, and you actually have to be the person that builds the puzzle together overall.
It's a really interesting space, isn't it? And do you feel that like with the models where they are today and like being able to generate almost, relatively good visuals, do you feel that storytelling element, someone will build a foundational model and will enable people to quite quickly tell a story? Or will that human element is like, I understand what really is emotional in this moment will still be a human thing?
I think it is very much a human thing, right? And we have, like I said, we have the building blocks for like getting that off the ground right now. You look at something like VO3, right? Which has the ability to, create an image or create a video where you've got audio and you've got like a component which you've
Yeah.
generated. That only gets you so far of the way there, right? It's one single 5-second clip. You still need to piece that together and have a narrative surrounding that. And that comes from human storytelling. That comes from an ideation phase where you're sitting and thinking, okay, how can I actually use this to tell a story? Because you can't just tell a story with a single image or a single video. There needs to be other components to that, like music and different framing types and stuff. And that's ultimately where traditional thinking comes from. That's ultimately where traditional video ideation comes from, where you're building a narrative and then putting that out in with the AI tools that you have. But without that, if you're just putting an image out in the world, like that's not going to be relevant to people. It's not going to be as interesting or engaging to people, right? There still needs to be an element of storytelling in there to engage people and start a conversation.
Walk me through how you do this for a tech company. When we think about tech, we don't think about the storytelling aspect in it, but more and more today, we see these incredibly great kind of promo videos. In your case, like the work you did with Alex Banks, like absolutely amazing in terms of walking through
Thank
how
you.
you build that out. Um, and then video is more important than ever, as we mentioned earlier. Like, why do tech companies like yourself in your position, why do we have to care about storytelling in that moment?
Mm-hmm. I think honestly with everything that we do in video and AI and everything, like, it's interesting. Synthesia as a company is positioning itself to be kind of the kind of end all of traditional media in some ways, because you are creating AI video that's going to go
The
out
video
to,
model, the sound, or the audio model, and then don't forget the
yeah.
avatars, and you're going to do the sound effects. It feels like this world of just Synthesia.
Exactly, exactly. And I think like that is the thesis, right? But at the minute, there's something that we're missing here, which is the idea that there's still people behind the content and people behind the avatars and the R&D and the tech that make all of this possible. And my role in Synthesia, initially I started doing more TikTok content and short form that was built around AI avatars. We had a TikTok channel and it was called AI Explains AI. It's now just our regular Synthesia TikTok, but at that point in like 2022, 2023, we were doing lots of work with just showing an avatar on screen and kind of reporting news and tech info that was coming out. And it was early days enough where that was getting, a lot of traction. But over time, we saw that that was kind of degrading because AI was getting so overblown and overhyped, and people were like, "Oh, I've seen it before." And we had to kind of rethink the structure because, again, like, AI can only do so much. This is the thesis, right? AI can only do so much. You still need humans to do the work. So when it came down to it, I was like, well, why don't we bring in, more like office life content and more content surrounding the people that are actually creating things. Let's do testimonials about like our C-level folks and, folks in the company that are working in different teams like product and engineering and R&D, and show their stories, because ultimately, they're the people that are making it happen and can provide context and the trust that comes with, working in these AI spaces and everything, because it is also still quite taboo. So there's a level of like trust and ethics, and also Synthesia is built on an ethical framework, which is something that was really critical when I joined, because a lot of other AI companies don't have or didn't have as very strong of a framework to begin with. And at this point, it's like you need to have like the trust and safety element of it as well. So if you're doing traditional video and you're showing the people behind it, there's also that layer of trust as well, which is really, really important, especially today.
Talk to me about the Alex video. It's a storytelling of it's not just a storytelling of a product, a feature release that you have at Synthesia. How did you come up with the concept to use a creator in that? And then how did you go about implementing something that has the cadence of keeping you entertained for a short period of time in collaboration with Alex?
Sure. Yeah. So we work with a lot of influencers across the board. We have a whole team as part of our content community team that's dedicated to actually working with influencers and collaborating them on the storytelling process. And with Alex Banks, it was a situation where we knew he wanted to get an avatar created, and that whole process for us is really exciting. You get to come into a studio and show off the experience of what it's like to actually sit in a studio, record yourself, and then wait a couple days and you'll get your avatar. Like there's something really fascinating with that, because you go into this like $5 million studio and you're like, wow, this is super
I
cool.
think genuinely
And
the first time I saw it, I was like, is he at the FIFA's place where they do that for the players and they do all of the movements, etc., or potentially at like the basketball version, and then realized it was at Synthesia. It was like, you guys have this in the building.
we've got that in the building. Exactly. Yeah. No, it's crazy. Like there's so many layers to that tech, and we want to showcase that, right? And I think we're very aware that that gets eyeballs, that starts a conversation, right? You're like, oh my gosh, this looks super high tech. How does it work? Everyone wants to know the behind the scenes of how we actually do it. And in the case of like Alex's video, we wanted to walk people through how he got it done, and then also show the business use cases as to like how you can actually use this as a product. And so our initial like, let's see this $5 million studio was kind of the hook, the CTA of it all. And then you go in and it's like, okay, so here's why you need avatars. This is me going through the process. And then you have kind of the use cases and the benefits of it. And that really shows people like, wow, you can use this tech in a lot of different ways. You can, use it to speak 32 different languages. You can have a global audience. You can scale your content like never before. Like there's so many things with that. And so when you have a creator at the forefront that's sharing that with their audience, that allows them to get exposure to the product, and then also let them see what we do and hopefully get them interested in trying it themselves.
What does the feedback from a video like that through Alex's channels mean for Synthesia? Like, how do you respond to the feedback that it gets in terms of the positive and negative, if there are any? And then how do you implement that back into another video piece of content?
Good question. I think for us, we do look at like a lot of the initial comments and things that come in, but ultimately, I think we know our audience, right? We know the type of people that we're targeting, and we know what works for us, and we've been able to build kind of a system for how we create content and what type of content we're creating. When it comes to, I think, the feedback loop, we listen to it, we see it, we look at like what people think the avatars are like, and there's customer support. There's plenty of people that bring that into factors. For us as a content team, really, our priority is showing people what's possible, showing people what Synthesia can do, and getting them interested. And if they're interested and they can see that this is a really cool tool and they want to try it, and they do, that's our end goal, right? We want them to see that and be kind of the first exposure point. So we do look at feedback, we do take it in, but ultimately, if they're seeing it and they're engaging with it, if they're having that conversation with us, that to me is like the best thing that we can do, right?
I completely agree. How do you hone the craft? How do you consistently make yourself better as a filmmaker, but also as a creator within the company?
Yeah. Honestly, keeping your mind sharp for ideation, really just thinking about what the product is, how the product works, who your target audience is, understanding the strengths and the limitations of what you can and cannot do with your product. In the case of Synthesia, right, going back to the TikTok example from earlier, avatars initially were just chest up, right? They were
Hmm.
just kind of like this framing. And now we have avatars as of Monday that can move their hands and do really, Express 2, our brand new technology, right? Like there's a new layer to that. But before all of that, we were just limited to one way of communicating with the avatars. So you work within the confines of that. You know what you can and cannot do, and you understand and kind of nitpick every single thing you can do with avatars. You look at how you can type things into text box or understand what they can do or say. In the case of like one of our greatest social media examples that I can give, and this is probably the best example I've got, is we did a TikTok live stream in 2022 where we had an AI avatar count to 1 million over the course of like 45 days. This was before my time, but it was a really big example of like using the AI avatars to the best of their capability, because you've got this AI avatar on TikTok counting up to 1 million over 45 days and doing stories and things like that. And people see that and they're like, "Whoa, this is crazy! Like this is such an amazing thing." And you try to find ways where you can have storytelling and engage that way, but you work within both the confines and the limitations and the strengths, and you make something really exciting about it. So we've done things like that before. We've also done one where an AI avatar was like counting 1 million digits of pi, like crazy things like that. Any social experiments you can do, anything like that, I think is really, really helpful. And
Never did I
so,
think that we'd get the Mr. Beastification of content for tech companies and then using that on live streams. What a world we live in. Talk to me about
it's
like
super
some of
crazy.
the people that you look up to in terms of filmmaking, and you take the essence of what they do. I'm a big fan of Nolan, and I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of Tarantino as well. Who are some of the people that you watch and then try and take the craft and apply it to your work?
I mean, honestly, for film, it's a completely different answer, I think, for marketing. I mean, that's almost two different lives for me in some ways. But for filmmaking as an art and as a skill, I think of people like Wes Anderson or Noah Baumbach, Richard Linklater. These people that are actually telling very down-to-earth human stories that have their own kind of twists on reality, or their own touches of reality. Like think Wes Anderson with his like really gorgeous, static shots and symmetry. And then people like Richard Linklater, he's written very like, down to earth narratives and things. Have you seen the Before trilogy, Before Sunrise at all?
I
Or
have.
Before Sunset? Oh, you haven't.
It's quite. I haven't. Sorry, no, I have. I haven't.
It's an amazing film, but ultimately, like naturalistic dialogue, being able to spark a conversation between two characters and seeing
Interesting.
their lives from different perspectives. The film is about, a guy from America and a girl from France that meet up on a train, and they have this amazing kind of like one day adventure, and it's a romance, and it's a really beautiful movie. But I highly recommend watching it. But ultimately, I think, telling human stories comes down to like building naturalistic dialogue, showing a really lived in world, having time to digest and sit with characters, rather than just having them say, whatever. There's a saying in film which is like show, don't tell,
Hmm.
and where you're just kind of implying or showing something. And as a filmmaker, I do a lot of that. I try to, emphasize and have moments where there are, more down moments, and they can just kind of sit in whatever feeling they're feeling, and then, engage in a conversation.
Do you
So
apply that show, don't tell to the work that you do today?
a little. It depends on the context of what we're doing. I think you look at something like our Synthesia launch events. So last Thursday, we did a launch event on LinkedIn that was a live stream where we introduced AI dubbing, which is one of our brand new technology pieces where you can take any video and dub it into 32 different languages. And with that, you have things like demos and showing off how the product works. You definitely want to show a lot of that, and you can kind of walk people through that. But ultimately, like some of our product explainer videos and things, they don't have any dialogue. It's just like nice graphics, nice motion graphics and stuff, and like
Graphics and
really polished.
subtitles.
Exactly, exactly. You don't necessarily need to say, here's our new feature. It's like show it, and often that will be enough. Also, you think about the age of with social media, like so many people watch stuff without, audio as well. So, if you've got really slick visuals, that also, tends to help too.
How important is the visual today? Like I find myself watching a lot of more, like you said, a lot more things on mute these days. And like I really love it when a brand or a creator uses these like nice captions. Do you think about the entire experience when you're building assets, or do you just think about just one aspect of it?
No, no, you definitely have to think about the whole package, right? You definitely want to look at things from start to finish. Like, what is it that you're trying to say with this? What's the message? What do you want people to feel about it? What's the emotion? And what sort of conversation do you want to unlock with that asset? You're looking at and this is also true of like campaigns as well, not necessarily just one single asset, but like, in the context of some of our campaigns that we've done, it's like what's the feeling, what's the vibe, and what do we want people to get out of it? What's the end goal too? Like what do you want them to do with that information, right? There's a huge element of like, oh, so we launched AI dubbing, now we want you to go and try it for free. Here's a link, go do it, give it a try, see what you think. There's a layer of that which is really critical. You have to know kind of what it is that you're building and what the end result is supposed to be. What do you want people to take from that? Another example, I'm doing a behind the scenes of our Express 2 avatars right now, and we're showing the behind the scenes process of how that looks and how that feels. And in that video, I want to show people that, like, for the end user, like creating an AI avatar on Synthesia is pretty easy, but when we're doing these stock avatars, we want people to see that there's a real intense physical production process where there's, you know, 20, 30 people in a room creating these avatars in like a really professional way, and they're doing it for you. They're doing it so that you can create videos super easy and have that, a really, great time making Synthesia videos. So you have to be very conscious of that, and you have to know kind of when you're going through what's the narrative, what are you trying to say in the video, what sound bites are you taking from interviews and clips that will give that impression or give that story to the audience.
So actually, you think a lot about the human engineering of it all.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of human engineering when it comes to social media marketing. I think it's a really, really big part of why we do it, I think, and why we tell stories, because storytelling is emotion. Storytelling is understanding, or at least connecting with different people from various different backgrounds, and understanding that we're all very similar and we all have different, goals and ideas and thoughts, but we can connect and we can resonate on some of the simplest ideas. And this is in filmmaking, this is in marketing, like everywhere you look, we can all relate to different things. And I think marketing is a huge component of it, is, resonating and connecting with people on different levels, no matter what you're producing, what you're creating.
I think when it comes to social today, we always end up in this like we just need to optimize for the feed, but it feels like you're taking a more like very high touch approach to thinking about actually what is the value that I can create for my audience and the audience of Synthesia here today, and make sure that they are able to get the value out of that piece of content, and then make sure they get the value out of the product as well. Seems like the team thinks
Exactly.
quite deeply about that. Like, we've chatted before, and like off camera, you've mentioned that you guys are like an incredibly high agency team.
Yes.
Walk me through when you come up with an idea, do you just ship it? Do you just go and try and build out like a version of it that's kind of rough and then move forward from there? or do you bring the team together to kind of sit with ideas? Which way do you think about doing it, and how have you found like the best approach today?
Yeah, honestly, one of the great things about Synthesia is our diversity within our content and community team. So just to kind of put the groundwork down of this, our team is about 6 or 7 of us that are from all around the world. We've got people from, myself being from the US, we have a gal from Korea, we've got, people from Copenhagen and other parts of England and, Slovenia, people from all over that are bringing in unique perspectives from various different fields. A lot of them also, didn't like initially come from marketing as well. Some were coming from other industries and other places, and that level of diversity has allowed us to open the door to interesting conversations and perspectives that have made our assets more varied and a lot more interesting to people because we have the ability to bring in a different perspective, which maybe a company in the U.S. that has just U.S. employees might not have. There's a global conversation happening within our team, across Europe and across the U.S., where we're able to ideate and come up with things together. And so we do like bi-weekly brainstorms. We'll sit and we'll think about ideas and kind of like look at what we're trying to produce, what sort of campaigns we're doing, and we say, okay, what can we do with the product? What are the strengths? Again, what are the limitations? And then what can you do with that to then, come up with stuff? And I think for us, like, it's really great to have different ideas to bounce off of with different people because, if you are just with like a couple different folks from the same place, it's like, well, you're going to probably come up with the same sort of stuff,
You stick in that silo and then you don't build anything else, like typical
Yeah,
marketing teams. It
exactly.
seems like you guys have got this range of backgrounds that allow for these insights to come together and like, oh, take a little bit from here, take a little bit from there.
Yeah, it really does help. I mean, like you just need to have a bit more variety when it comes to marketing because like a voice that you would never expect to have a great social idea might just come up one day and you're like, "Whoa, like that's a cool idea. Let's act on that. Let's do that." Also on the kind of pushing things out and just like shipping it, definitely we have lots of assets, especially for like TikTok and LinkedIn and stuff, where if one of us has an idea, we'll do some tests and we'll see how it looks and see how it feels, and if we think that there's like a viable like conversation or you know thing that we're doing with that where it works, we're going to ship it, we're going to try it and see if it works. I think you do have to do so much of that in the age of social media. I mean, just quantity is a huge thing, but also quality. It's like that you want to ship a lot, but you want to do it in a way where it's meaningful and valuable to your audience. And you almost have to build a bit of a criteria, like does it check all these boxes? And then from there, you make it. You make the product. You do what you do, and go from
I've been
there.
having this conversation with a lot of marketers today and the people in social teams, and it kind of flits back and forth on both sides. Some say the marketing funnel is broken, and others say it's just kind of evolved into something new. The thesis I've got is the fact that like it's not broken; it's just changed. We're world
Mm,
building now, and so we have these gravity wells that are the worlds that are Synthesia, that are ventures, for example, and we have to create enough content around it that people fall into our gravity well and get sucked in, and then the traditional marketing funnel exists.
yeah.
Is that how you think about it? Or do you have a different approach?
Mm. I believe that, yeah, I would agree mostly in the sense that, like I said before, our team is designed to get people interested. We are kind of the first base of contact for a lot of people. Our TikTok, our LinkedIn, it's designed to, be intriguing. It's designed to be interesting. It's like, oh, this is an AI avatar, or is this a real person? Like, which one is it? And you start building that like interest and that intrigue, like, oh, so you can create AI avatar videos and it's not that hard. It's like almost like making a PowerPoint. Like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that. So you build that conversation, you start to build that discussion, and then you sort of build the funnel from there, and people, like you said, fall into it. I think that there is a layer of that which we adhere to, and I think I've only been working in this space for a couple of years, but I believe that, yeah, like if in marketing it's most important to just get people interested, get people excited, and get people interested in trying it and seeing what they can create with it.
Carl, before we run out of time, I've got one more question. When we think about social in 5, 10 years' time, do you think it still looks the way it looks today? Or do you feel like the multimodal approach to how we interact with technology is going to change the need of attention and the way that we interact with campaigns, with marketing?
Absolutely. I think it's going to change completely. How? I have no clue. I think, anything is possible. Just look at how rapid like the video generation for AI has adapted and grown, or even image generation for that matter. Think about, ChatGPT 3 years ago, the ChatGPT boom. All of these things have compounded and gone so quickly to the point where, I think a year ago we were like, oh, like, really good AI video is probably going to be about 2, 3 years out. And then we get to this year and it's like, no, it's right here, right now. Like, what does that tell us about the next year or the next years? Like, is it going to be multi scenes? Is it going to be whole movies? What could it be? I have no clue. Honestly, I believe that it is going to change. It is going to be disrupted. But at the same time, there's still going to be functions and people like myself that are going to be doing, the traditional work and the traditional media that's needed to, show the products and the people and the industries and environments that we work in. Traditional media is still going to be a viable part of the marketing and social media process because ultimately we want human stories. We're going to get to a point, I think, where if I had one theory, it's like we're going to get to a point where, we'll probably have so much AI slop in the world where people are just going to be like, well, I don't want to see this. I want more human stuff. I want more human content. And I think we're getting to that right now a little bit in some ways. But ultimately, I do believe that, human content is going to be a lot more invested and a lot more interesting for people as we move in the next couple of years.